Let's review some basics of coding from Advanced Placement Computer Science Principles, Code.org, Semester 1. And we will start with the Code.org page. Open a brand new project, My Projects, and then go to App Lab. And then let's create a rename project. Put your first and last names, and then let's call it Semester 1 Review. And you will share this later on to make sure that your teacher has it. Alright, so let's see what we've learned so far. And we're going to begin with data because that's the most recent thing. Go ahead and click on Data. And when you click on data, you're going to see there's all sorts of different data sets. Let's see if we can do some charts and graphs from the data sets. How about we start with science? That looks like fun. And we could do maybe cereal nutrition. We can preview that data by clicking on Preview. And it shows us the name of the cereal. It shows us how many calories per serving, grams of protein per serving, grams of fat, grams of sodium, grams of fiber, carbs, sugar, cups per serving, and an image. One thing it does not seem to show us is number of grams per serving, which would be useful. Let's see what sort of interesting data we can find from this. So go ahead and click on the Import button. And now it's imported over here as one of our data tables. Click on Cereal Nutrition. It'll show us the same data. And let's try to visualize the data. So we can just start by calling this cereal. And let's go ahead and select a type. Let's see if we can make a bar chart. And we can just click on ID. That's not going to make an interesting bar chart. Using the down arrow on our keyboards, we can switch between. Here's an interesting bar chart. It shows that 28 of the cereals in the list, their serving size, they're targeting 110 calories for a serving size. So that looks like most of the serving sizes are 110 calories. Of course, that's a different grams. Let's see what else is interesting. Grams of protein. It looks like those serving size mostly have 2 or 3 grams. There's two of them that have 6 grams. Those, if you're trying to get protein, would probably be better ones to eat. Fat looks like about 1 or 2 grams of fat per serving is typical. Sodium all over the map. Now this is one where it would be useful to use a histogram. So we could make little charts. Buckets, like from 0 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 150. So let's go ahead and make a histogram, and let's make a bucket size of 50, and let's do grams of sodium, right? Yeah, grams of sodium. So now we can see that there's a lot of them from that really most of them have between 100 and, let's see, 100, 150, 200, 250, between 100 and 250 grams of sodium. Now, just for a reference, you should not be eating more than 1,500 grams of sodium, milligrams, these are milligrams, of sodium in a day. So that's a lot of sodium. Remember, sodium is this like reactive metal. It's in salt, but it's also in other things. So that's an interesting chart. Why don't we view that snapshot, save that snapshot, and once we've saved it, why don't we add it to a Google Slides, and we will share that Google Slides with our teacher also. So I'll go ahead and create a new tab, go to a Google Slides, and if you need to log in, go ahead and log in. let's see, make a new blank presentation. Let's just call this presentation Semester 1 Review, AP CSP code.org. Okay, to make a new slide, we can just click here, then right-click, new slide, and let's paste our image on there. Did we copy the image yet? Let's see. Let's copy the image and then paste the image. Let's do a blank slide. So I'm going to Control Z to undo, and then what I mean is a blank slide. Let's right-click on the slide and apply layout, and let's apply layout blank. Let's get rid of these templates. I'm not sure why those are showing up. And why don't we copy and paste that slide so we have 10 slides. So Control C, Control V, Control V, 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 V. All right, let's go back to slide 2, and then let's copy this, and let's paste it. Boop. And I don't like how it's stretched like that. Let's make it as big as we can to sit on the slide. Let's move it down a little bit until we get the crosshairs, the red crosshairs right there. And now it's right in the middle there. Yep, that looks okay. Let's give it a better name. Oh, I like how it grabs Semester 1 Review, but let's put our last name and first name in front of that. So, first and last. And then we're going to share it later on with our teacher. So, okay. So let's go back. Let's exit out of this. And let's see. We had another good one, right? That was a bar chart with, was it calories? Yeah, so that one's interesting. Why don't we also take a snapshot of that, copy it, switch to our slideshow, go to slide 3, click in the middle, paste, center that. I don't think we really need to resize it, but just center it. All right, there we go. Looks good. Okay, let's go back and let's see what else we can find. So we've looked at grams of sodium. Let's go down to grams of fiber. Fiber is very important for your body. It helps your body to process and digest food. Looks like we should use a histogram for this also, because these little bars are kind of separate here. How about we use bucket size of 2? I think a bucket size of 2 to start with. So let's go to histogram, bucket size of 2. We were looking at fiber. Yeah, that's not bad. So most cereal hardly has any fiber, but there are a few cereals that have more fiber. Let's try a bucket size of 3 just to see how that looks. 3 looks about the same. 4, I think 3. Now the thing I don't like about this is it's not really showing the 3 at the bottom here. That is one thing that I don't love about this graph tool. All right. Yeah, why don't we take a picture of that? Go ahead. So view snapshot, copy, and then click back to your PowerPoint tab, slide 4, paste it right on there, center it. There we go. All right, let's go back to our data, see if there's any other interesting bar charts that we can make. How about carbs? Again, carbs would be good for a histogram. We could do like buckets of 5. So from 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15. Oh, it's not even showing, it's graphing it kind of weird. It got rid of the 0 to 5 on the left. So go to histogram, bucket size of 5, and that's carbs, right? Grams of carbs. Oh, so carbs, it looks like most of them are not between 0 and 5, 5 to 10. Most of them are between 10 and 15 carbs. or 15 and 20 carbs. There are some that have even more carbs. And so, yeah, let's get a good snapshot of that. Copy. Close it. And, oops, I forgot to paste onto slide 5. Click, paste. That looks good. Okay. All right, let's go back to a bar chart one more time. And let's look at sugars, grams of sugars. That would probably look the same as a histogram, so let's not worry about that. How about cups per serving? Cups, of course, would depend on what kind of cereal it is, if it's very airy cereal or not. Box image. Of course, box image is not going to bring us anything. Okay, so we looked at some bar charts, we looked at some histograms. Let's see if we can make a scatter plot out of this data. So we need an X and a Y value. How about if we compare the number of calories per serving to the amount of grams of fat? Okay, so calories and grams of fat. So these have 120 calories, 0, 1, 2, 3 grams of fat. Yep. So each one of these is a different cereal. So there's a cereal that has 50 calories per serving, 0 grams of fat. Clearly they're rounding on grams of fat because none of them have like a 0.5. This one's got 90 calories, 0 grams of fat, 1 gram of fat. Why don't we switch it? Why don't we do carbs, grams of carbs. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So again, I wonder if we swap the X and the Y, how that would look. So let's change it to grams of carbs versus calories. Calories. So again, there's clearly a relationship between them. I don't really like how this graph is not really spread out very well. I wonder if we can ignore, why don't we do a filter? Ignore any that have less than 10 grams. Any cereals that have less than 10 grams. So we only want calories greater than or equal to 10 grams. Wait, calories? Oh, carbs, sorry. Grams of carbs that are greater than or equal to 10. Okay, so that gives us a little, we got rid of a few of the cereals that hardly have any carbs, and so this gives us a little chart. We could do the same thing. We could say, let's just look at the cereals that have more than 12 carbs or grams of carbs or whatever. Let's view our snapshot. Let's copy that and switch to our slideshow. Go to slide 6. Click on the center of the slide. Control V to paste. Grab it and center it to the middle. Try to find the red X mark or the crosshairs coming up. How about we do like, let's go back to our data, close our print view, and why don't we compare for our scatter plot like, let's see, maybe grams of sugar versus grams of carbs. So grams of sugar versus grams of carbs. And then let's clear our filtering. So I think if we click select, that will clear our filtering. So for example, if we have, I wonder if I can stretch this a little bit so it looks a little taller. Yeah, that looks a little better. I am just grabbing the bottom of my window and stretching downward. I'm going to center this a little bit better. Okay, so there's some that have 0 grams of sugar, but they may have some carbs. 0 grams of sugar, 5 grams of sugar. I mean, I guess this is kind of interesting. Let's switch them and see how it looks if we put grams of sugar on the bottom, the x-axis, grams of carbs, sorry, and then grams of sugar on the y-axis. So it looks like for the ones that have a small amount of sugars, they have a lot of carbs, and then there's actually kind of a relationship where the more sugar it has, the less carbs it has. Can you see that? Because this one, it's got 23 grams of carbs, but only 2 grams of sugar. All right, let's view snapshot. Let's copy that, and let's paste that onto, switch to our slides, paste that onto slide number 7. We have not yet done a, okay, I'm going back, closing that window. We've not yet done a crosstab. Okay, so crosstab would be good if we have a small number of x values. So what would have a small number of x values? Not the calories, well, maybe grams of protein. So grams of protein, because it was usually what, between 0 and 4 grams, right? And have that versus grams of fiber. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that actually doesn't look bad. So for the cereals, I have 1 gram of protein. A lot of them, 10 of them have 0 fiber. All right, so let's take a look. We have our grams of protein. If it's 1 gram of protein, it looks like the grams of fiber are either 0 or 1. If we have 2 grams of protein, looks like the cereals again have 0 or 10. As we're increasing, let's see, what's the most grams of fiber? It really looks like if we have 4 grams of protein, we're getting more fiber, up to 9, 10, 14 grams of fiber. So that's good. A cereal that had 4 grams of protein and that much fiber would be good. All right. Have we made a copy of that one? I don't think so. So let's view the snapshot. Let's make a copy of it. And what slide would that be on? That would be on slide 8. So let's click to slide 8, click on slide 8, Control V to paste, and then let's move it and center it with the crosshairs. Oh, that looks better there. I can see the crosshairs. All right, let's go back to our data table. Let's close that data table. I wonder what else would be an interesting comparison. I like the grams of protein because it's between 1 and 6. How about grams of protein versus maybe grams of fat or grams of carbs? Why don't we try grams of fat and see how that looks? Well, that's an interesting one. That's a nice crosstab. So we're comparing grams of protein in the cereal versus grams of fat. And I don't think this table looks right though. Oh, okay, yeah, it does. Okay. So it looks like a lot of the cereals that have 2 grams of protein don't have much fat in them. They only have 1 or 0 grams of fat. But then there are some, really 3 is the most grams of fat in any cereal? That doesn't seem very much. It's still an interesting chart. Let's do another comparison. Let's do can we do carbs versus fat? Let's do carbs versus fat. So grams of carbs versus grams of fat. So we can just change this one to grams of carbs. Ooh, so grams of carbs versus fat. That's not a lot of, why is, oh, it's a long table. Oh, look at that. Okay, because the grams of carbs, they're doing half. Why don't we switch the axes on these? Why don't we switch it to grams of fat along the side, because there's only 1, 2, or 3. So grams of fat along the side, grams of carbs across the top. There we go. That's more interesting. So a lot of times when you're doing data tables, you've got to like try out some different things. I wish we could do the groupings here, because I think the halves, if we could group those with the wholes, like the 11.5 and the 13.5 and the 10.5, would make it easier. But this is interesting anyways. We can see a lot of the cereals, if they don't have much fat, they have a lot of carbs. I mean, look at all these carbs they have. Whereas if they have a lot of fat, they hardly have any carbs. I've got to learn up more on my nutrition science. Why don't we copy this one? This is kind of interesting. Should we filter? Why don't we filter, because we just haven't done that in a while. Let's filter to get rid of these cereals that have hardly any carbs. So how about anything that's less than 11 we filter out? So if the grams of carbs are less than 11, so grams of carbs, we want to get rid of the ones that are less than 11, so we want it to be greater than or equal to 11. There. It's too bad we can't do two filters and like maybe get rid of these, a couple of these over here. But so what we did is we basically just got rid of some of the ones. Okay, let's make a snapshot of that. We're going to copy that, and then we can go back to our slideshow. Slide 9, we can paste that and center it. Yep, that's good. And let's see if we can find one more good table. So let's close that one. We're in crosstab. Can we just scroll these calories? Oh, we can scroll them. So if you click on your Y value box here and you select calories, and then we can tab down through them. Oh, let's get rid of the filter. Change it to select. Okay, grams of protein. I like the grams of protein because there's only 4 choices. It's 0, 1, 2, or 3. So name, calories. I don't want to change the grams of protein. Oh yeah, grams of protein is okay. All right. So calories. What are we learning from this? It looks like a lot of the cereals that have 0 or 1 grams of fat have 110 calories per serving. Grams of protein, a lot of the ones with a little fat have 2 or 3 grams of protein. That's grams of fat versus grams of fat, so that's not interesting. Grams of sodium. This one, the grams of sodium isn't great for crosstab because, I guess it's kind of interesting that there's 6 cereals that have 0 sodium and they have 0 fat. I guess that's something you could figure out. It could be a question, how many cereals have both 0 grams of fat and 0 grams of sodium? Or how many cereals have 0 grams of fat but have more than 200 milligrams of sodium? I don't know what this cereal is. 320 milligrams of sodium for a single serving, and you're not supposed to have more than 1,500 grams in a day, 1,500. So that's like a fifth of all the sodium for the day just in one serving of cereal, not even just a bowl, because servings are usually small. You can fit 2 servings or 3 servings in a bowl usually. Well, this is interesting. Could we filter this one to make it more interesting? Is there something else we could compare it versus? Grams of sodium versus, I don't know. I want to see the rest of these first. So grams of sodium, fat versus fiber, fat versus carbs, fat versus sugars, fat versus cups per serving. The cups per serving, I just think that's a little bit silly, because why isn't it just grams? Like in Europe, all the foods labels have to say per 100 grams. How many calories per 100 grams? how many grams of fat per 100 grams. Okay. Box image, there's no way that can work for a crosstab. So we want to do another crosstab. I think the sodium was not bad. I don't know if we want to do a sodium versus grams of fat though. Let's see if there's something else that'd be interesting. So how about grams of protein? I mean, that one's not bad because the choices are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and oh, there's not even 5. Let's just scroll through them real quick. Fat versus sodium. Sodium versus sodium doesn't make sense because you're just plotting a line. Just flipping through them real quick to see if there's another one that looks interesting. I think the fat versus sodium or protein versus sodium. I think the protein versus sodium looks a little more interesting. Why don't we go with that one? So on our X values, we have grams of protein, our Y values, grams of sodium. Go ahead and take a snapshot, copy it, and move it to your last slide, slide 10. Paste it, Control V, and center it. Center, there we go. Okay, and then let's share it. So where's the share button? Share, share, share. Share button should be at the top. I think it's this button. Go ahead and share it with your teacher. For example, Wiesner A at student. Why can't we see that? Wiesner A at students.grps.org. And they probably don't need to be an editor. Viewer is fine. Send that. And then make sure to also submit it into your student management system, which would be your like Schoology or Synergy or PowerSchool or whatever you got. So let's not make it restricted. Oh yeah, people with access can open the link. Only people with access can open the link. Why don't we change that to your district and copy link. And once you've copied the link, go into the assignment and paste it in there. And so, for example, if you are in Schoology, find the Schoology assignment, create the assignment, paste it in there, make sure to make it a link, and submit it. And that's it for our quick review of using the various charts in code.org. Good job.